Okay.
All right. Manole Madness, take 3.
Take 3.
I had a subject that I wanted to talk about. And actually,
What is the subject?
I forgot. But
Makuli moment.
no, I forgot what my original subject
It was
was.
the Hawaiian food at Camille's at Westgate.
That made me forget.
Yeah.
Maybe. Let's blame that. No, what I wanted to talk about was relationships. I mean, that wasn't originally, but that just came to my mind.
Okay, okay.
Relationships. So, like, what in a relationship you think helps the relationship to grow and to work? Like, what are
Become
aspects?
stronger?
Yeah, like, what are aspects to you of a relationship that needs to be there? The components of a relationship.
I get it. I can answer that question for me.
Oh yeah. Okay, what?
Yeah. Just be quiet, woman. Get in the kitchen and cook my meals, and don't say nothing unless I say you said something. And listen to me and what the guy said? You gotta be subservient to me. That
You don't see how that works?
that.
Don't see how that works?
What? And I can hear my mom go. Yeah.
No. Try
Yeah.
again.
Try again.
Try again. Try.
Okay, try. I believe that, well, for me, I believe you just gotta have patience.
What?
I know. I gotta have patience
Patience.
and gotta have understanding. But one of the primary things that is strengthening our bonds is the demonstration that I can see firsthand for the first time in my life what empathy really is all about. I'm learning that from you every day about empathy. I think that right there, I think the opposite of empathy is apathy. So people just don't give a shit.
So is that something that you are missing in other relationships?
Yep.
Is there something
Yep.
in other relationships that you think is missing from our relationship? Like that you would add? You
Nah.
know what I mean?
I wouldn't want to add anything that was in my previous relationships.
Because it's previous for a reason.
It's previous for a reason. But also too is that at least they gave me, I was locked up for a long time.
Yeah.
So it gave me, the two previous relationships gave me an opportunity to understand the joys of being married. You know what I mean? And so it gave me an opportunity to, like you said, practice run. You know what I mean? The first one, 6 months we was together. Was 2009 to 2000. What was it? 2005 we got married.
That was
So
more a
technically,
marriage of convenience.
yeah, that was a marriage of convenience.
Yeah.
Technically married for 4 years, but only together for like 6 months. And that shit just blew up in my face. But what did I get from that? It taught me what I don't want, right? And then the second one was better than the first one, but also taught me what I don't want. So I think having prior relationships
It's a good thing.
can be a good thing if the takeaway from what you learn from that is something that helps you to grow. I think where the problem is that people keep jumping into relationships expecting different results doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So it's the same, madness thing,
Yeah.
right? So
And
that-
it's not like the relationships in the past were all bad. It's just you taking what didn't work and
I wasn't fully matured mentally and psychologically, emotionally. I would say emotionally mostly to cope with that relationship, the dynamic of that relationship. I think right now, where I'm at right now, I'm now coming into my own, and primarily because I have a partner that's helping to guide me along to work through my issues. And you know, I got a whole bucket full of issues.
You just throw it in the ocean. Yeah. So
What about you?
for
What
me,
about you?
I think in a relationship, I mean, I'm big on trust and honesty and loyalty and stuff. That's like, you know, big for me. I've always been like, you can be ugly. You can be, not that you're ugly. I don't think you're ugly.
Nah,
But I've
nah.
had some,
Huh?
I've had people always ask me, like, why did you go out with this person? You know, I'm like, because
I'm sure there's a lot of people wondering, how the hell did mom and score that?
No,
Yeah.
but
Look at my Bugatti.
it's okay. I'll take you with all your Bugatti.
No way.
But that's always
Ghetto
been
fabulous,
a big
baby.
thing
Ghetto
because,
fabulous.
you know, nobody's perfect, right? And so I just think that if whatever happens in your relationship, as long as you have communication, that's a big one, communication.
Right.
Because
You gotta
men
talk
and
about it.
yeah, because men and women in general think differently, I think, right?
We had a deep talk about it. 3:30 in the morning this morning.
Yeah. But then, you know, on top of men and women's brains working different, every person processes different, right?
Right.
And then you add in, like, you know, for me, you add in the issues that I have that have lasted years, and I have seizures
you got
and
issues?
stuff. I got issues.
You got issues.
I do. And so I have,
I got slippers.
like, memory
I don't have
issues.
issues. I got slippers.
I got bare feet right now. because, but
You took off your issues.
yeah, but I need a nap. But that's the thing. Like, you know, if you can communicate, and sometimes you have to wait until you're calm, right, to communicate, because
Yeah.
when you're heated, it's like you're not
Never
listening.
attempt to solve a problem when. So I think that's a good word of
Yeah,
wisdom. Never attempt to try to solve a problem when one or two people are in a
yeah.
locking horns. at
But-
that moment.
But on that note, I also think it's very important to not just go in your, you know, respective corners and just let it die down. Because I think the second component to that is, yes, cool down so that you can talk, right? And listen. Listening, I think, is the most important part. And actually, listening with your heart, not your ears, right? Really take to heart what they're telling you and come from their perspective. But the second component is, after you cool down, is you really need to seal the deal and make, like, resolve the issue, you know, because then if,
So it's about intention. What is your intent? Are you intended to resolve the issue, or are you intended to drag this thing on forever? Sounds familiar?
dragging it out forever to him is like, he says, we're gonna be talking about it for 100 million minutes, 3 hours. And I'm like, when have we ever talked for 3 hours? The reason why we talk for so long is because we're still not hearing each other, you know.
Yeah.
And
see?
so that's what I mean about hearing with your heart, not your ears, right? And then when you hear with your ears, and then coupled with a life that, like, my life is different and his life is different, it brings up defenses on his end automatically. The defenses are up, and on my end, I'm like, I'm gonna stand my ground, you know?
See?
Even though I look like I'm
See, right
like,
there.
you know,
I'm gonna stand my ground.
I
And
am.
if you're gonna stand your ground, I'm gonna stand my ground.
See,
And that's how the team never gonna get
See,
resolved.
but
No, but that's how the team never gonna get resolved.
no,
Because if I stand my ground and you stand your
no,
ground,
because it's
we're
not
not
about
we're not giving nothing.
no, because it's not about one upping each other. I'm just saying that,
No, the whole concept, I stand my ground.
yeah.
That means I'm not going to be moved.
Well, both of us do
Right.
that, though.
Yeah.
Both of us stand our ground.
That's
but
all.
that's why it comes down to listening with your heart, not your ears.
How are you going to do that when you're standing your ground? You're still at ease.
I'm not like that. No.
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 See?
So
See what I mean? No.
at the end
Yeah,
of
I
the
said
night,
yeah, you say no. I say yeah.
No.
I say yeah.
No.
See?
I say no.
See? See?
At the end of the night,
That's why you don't
it's
tell me talk
not
nothing.
just about, my thing is always before we go to sleep at night, we need to talk about it,
Honey.
right? And so don't go sleep. And the other reason why I feel like that is because, comes from my son. My son with his heart condition says every
Never know
night
what
when
will
he
happen.
lays down at night, he wonders if that's the last time he's gonna fall asleep.
Right.
He's never gonna wake up. And so you never know. Just because we're not born with heart conditions, you never know what is gonna happen. So I don't want the last thing for you to hear from me is I can't talk to you right now, or you know what I mean, like feeling like we're
I
not
talk to you
loved,
ugly.
stuff like that. So that's why to me it's very important. Communication, I think, is really up there. And
Yeah.
and
I agree.
unconditional love, I was asked that at the beginning of our relationship by somebody.
Yeah?
What do you think is unconditional love, right? And
Well,
I answered that question, and I think too, like, okay, when I met him, I knew he came with baggage. I knew he came with a lifetime of trauma, right? And so I knew that it wasn't going to be just an easy relationship where, nothing was going to come up ever and stuff like that. But to me, it's not
welcome
about,
to the traffic on the west side.
it's not about like,
You know it's traffic on, you said Hiko Power Plant, the Kahi Power Plant, and we're stuck now.
it's not about not having issues. It's about, as long as your goal is still going towards committed relationship, right? And you're growing all the time.
Growing
I was
up.
just thinking that. But
Growing
and the
up.
thing that so the thing I like about, so now we both spoke about what we think is important in a relationship. And of course, love, right?
Love.
Intimacy, I think.
Yes.
And it's not just about sex.
Oh,
It's not about
intimacy,
sex.
I think there's more to intimacy. Sex is just on
Right.
small part of
Right.
the whole picture.
Right.
You know what really gets me with you? Like, what gets me like all up in my loving feelings with you, and to actually feel like I'm actually being loved and cared for, is the whole touch thing. You touch.
I love to touch
Yes.
him. I love to touch him
Stop!
and hug him and kiss
Stop!
him.
Making me ookie. I'm not used to that. Bruh, that thing just drive me crazy, bro. Bruh, she pick up me
And
that.
that's
See, she bully me like that. She's
So-
a touch terrorist.
I'm not a touch. There's no such thing.
There is such a thing as
But
a
that-
touch terrorist.
That should be an example right there of the trauma in his life, right? Like the simple act of touching and not being like, oh, I don't want to be around you kind of thing, And I think that's why, like, the first night we met, you were kind of like, huh? Like, I just
Yeah.
told you my past, you don't want to run, because most people
Oh,
would
she's
run like,
cuckoo.
you know what, I'm
Cuckoo.
good, thanks, nice meeting you. I'm not cuckoo. But, okay, so then now what I see in you, in our relationship, is the one thing I love is that he's his own, how do I say it,
Biggest critic.
yeah. And so he corrects himself, right? Like, he doesn't need to be like, you do this and you do that and stuff like that. He self-corrects because he thinks about it and he says, I don't want to be like that, and I didn't like how I responded, so I want to change.
No, you know, I can tell you exactly where that comes from. Two things. One, the sex offender treatment program that I participated in was nuts.
But that was good and bad.
It
Yeah.
you know why? Because, and I think it was good the way they run the class, because there's no room There's no room for excuses. No room. Then I tell you up front, denial, what is the elements of denial? You minimize, you justify, and you blame.
So we talked about that in one of our other
Right.
vlogs, and I
Yeah.
was
So that's one thing.
I
right?
beg to
That's
differ
one thing.
on
The
some of
other
that.
thing too, for me, coming from an anti-authoritarian perspective, I don't like other people having control over me. The problem that I had was that I wasn't in control of myself, right? Which allowed other people to be in control of me,
Yeah.
right? So if I don't want other people to be in control of me, then I best get my act together
You
and
handle your shit.
handle my shit and be in control of myself. Because I don't need nobody to tell me how to live my life.
Yeah.
I don't need nobody telling me stand by and wait. Wait for request for toilet paper, and tell oh you gotta put in a request for toilet paper. Okay, I let them request it. No, stand by and wait. You know what I mean? I don't need nobody for telling me that. I'm a grown ass man, right? So I just gotta get real with myself, and I just gotta be real with me. And then hey, I don't need you to tell me that I'm gonna screw up. I know I'm gonna screw up, and I don't need you to tell me how I should live my life. So if I go and participate in life on life's terms in society, then I gotta get my shit together and participate in society in a way that is acceptable by society, right?
Right.
So, acting out violently, is not acceptable in society. Now, one of the humps I had to get over with and to also educate people around me is that there's a difference between aggression and assertiveness. And a lot of people, because they know my past, they think I'm being aggressive. I'm not being aggressive. I'm just a straight shooter. I'm gonna tell you straight, whether it hurts your feelings or not. You're just gonna have to. You gotta solve that problem within yourself. I'm not being violent to you.
So
I'm being assertive.
So
I'm assertive my perspective.
So I think that.
And I have every right to do that.
I think that some of that comes from, like, you're a big guy. I mean, people look at you and it's like...
Big no mean nothing, though.
No, but to
where I come from, big no mean nothing.
Yeah, but see, that's right there is where you're mistaken, because
I'm not mistaken.
where you come from,
yeah.
Right? But you just said you have to learn how to live in this world, what's accepted in this world. So
Right.
what's accepted in the perception of this world is not where you come from, right?
Okay.
As a general rule. So somebody that looks like you, and unfortunately everybody judges, right? And not everybody uses the judgment against people, but everybody's guilty of judging, right? Like we people watch and we judge,
Right.
But it's like we're not like judging and going, okay, I'm not talking to that person because they look scary or whatever, But when you judge and you look at you, right, and then when you're asserting yourself, the perspective of some people is that you're aggressively asserting yourself. You know what I mean?
You can't wait for losing.
No, because...
What I gotta do, bow down, excuse me.
No.
Can you please hear my
No,
thoughts?
but...
Here's my opinion.
But here's
that,
the difference, though. When you come with the vibe of, okay, check this out. You get two choices. Okay, I'm gonna try this one more time. Like that kind of
it's
like.
just because
No, I know.
I'm cutting out the bullshit.
But that's what I'm saying.
I'm cutting out the bullshit and the drama that comes with people trying to fucking dramatize on conversation.
Okay, but
their thoughts and opinions or whatever. They get so emotional
but
and drama.
this is what I'm talking about. That the world's perception versus you. So, like, you'll say a lot of times, I'm not being aggressive. I'm not mad. But a lot of people will look at you and go, well, you sure as hell look mad. And that's true. You don't have to like.
So you know whose fault? Fourth of July, love you. You know whose problem is that? The person who perceiving that. If you choose to perceive somebody's presentation as angry or anything negative, that's your
Well,
problem.
and that may be
I'm not gonna
true.
bow down to people because I think they might. So I learned that, like, I do a lot of work at the Capitol, right? They know that I come with an impassioned opinion. I never once read from a paper
Yeah.
because to me, if you don't
And
know
I
your
do the
subject
same.
matter and you don't know how to articulate yourself in a way that is within the time frame that is given to you, you only give it 2 minutes, 3 minutes sometimes,
I
right?
do the same.
You know, you gotta come from the heart.
And it's in fact when I actually have a script, like I've been given a script before, and can you
Yeah.
go up there and read this? Like I get all messed up when I read
Yeah.
from a script, and then it doesn't sound.
Yeah, that's
You
it.
know,
It's
like,
not authentic.
I'm not one of those like.
If the thing don't come
Great.
from your heart,
Yeah.
it comes from your mind.
So
It's
it's
not
just like,
authentic.
okay, tell me what you want me to talk about, and then okay, I got it. Like I'll go up there and I'll just talk about it. But
Right.
so for me, if I'm perceiving somebody that they can tell me all day long that they're not angry, but to me,
Fuck
if I
you again.
perceive them to be angry and I don't like that vibe, then I will just walk away. You know what I mean? Like, you know, okay,
Keep
you
on
can
walking.
say that you're not angry, but I'm telling you that I feel like that's how it's making me feel, and you don't want to acknowledge that, and it's a take it or leave it kind of shit, then okay, the communication right there is you're not willing to, you know, take into
Well,
my
okay,
feelings,
so in my perspective, right, you say that.
right? Okay.
In my perspective, I think that you're coming across crosshairs to me like that, then whose problem is that? Is that my problem or your problem?
With your logic, it would be yours,
Yeah, it's my problem,
right?
right? Because I cannot make your problem my problem.
But
I cannot make my problem your problem.
right. But my logic in a relationship is if you feel like that and you think I'm making you feel like that, right? That's just for us. Then
Right.
I want to talk about it, and I don't want, even
Yeah.
though I can say, no, that's not what I was doing. I want to change that so that you don't feel like that. I don't have the attitude of, well, I said what I said. I said I didn't mean it like that. You know what? You don't want it, then fuck you. Take it or leave it, kind of thing, right?
And the difference here is that we are involved in an intimate relationship.
Right.
So we are trying to make,
Right.
you know.
But I think to a point that goes with,
But in the general
everybody.
community, yeah. I just got a
Yeah.
call today from a politician upset at my comments about his comments on a media. Yeah, 743 forever. Love it.
That's why I don't
You,
like
you know what I mean?
politics.
And it didn't resolve anything, because I still have my opinion.
Yeah.
You know, I think his opinion he's hypocritical in his position. But
Yeah.
I still don't have any. But I still like the guy. You know
So
what
I mean
I
that
still
that
think he's a friend.
relationship, yeah, like you guys have that relationship, right? But like, so when I was working, there was a manager that I was at one point. She was the manager and we were the employees. But so it was her job at first to call for, you know, like the service of the products and for delivery and all that, right? She would manage all of that. But at one point I was doing all of that, you know, and I was getting irritated because she would like nitpick on little things that I wasn't doing at work.
Right.
And I'm going, okay, wait a minute. I didn't do that little thing because I was doing your big thing, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so then the boss talked to me a couple times, and I'm like, okay, hold on. She's the manager. She's getting paid as a manager.
Exactly.
I'm not the manager,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I'm doing half her job.
Yeah, if I gotta do your job, you're gonna pay me.
Yeah,
It's gonna be
so
commensurate.
you know what I mean? But then my boss told me at that time, you know, there's always going to be in life, every circle that you get into in life,
Mhm.
there's always going to be somebody that you can't get along with, but you're going to have to find a way, right? And so,
Or start your own business so you don't need to answer to a clown.
yeah, I mean, you know, that's that's true too, but I didn't get what he was saying at that time, but I do now, right? Because I've been in that situation in my different circles. I've been in that situation many times, and
Right.
in order to make things work for the bigger picture, you do have to sometimes humble yourself, and you don't have to bow down and kiss somebody's ass,
Mm.
but you also don't have to like feed into it. You know what I mean? Like I just like, okay, you know what? You and I, we can't be friends. Like, like
Yeah. We're
you
not gonna
just
be
a
friends.
different.
We're not gonna be
breed.
friends.
Yeah, like you just a different. But you think different. You're like, I can't deal with you. You know.
So, how does that relate to like when Royce's perspective? Yeah, he got interesting. His take 343 like is like in between both of us. Like, well, he's
Like-
saying it's not like mine. Like mine, I'm like, what the? I'm not gonna answer to a clown.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, and yeah. So
And his thing is, hey, I got a job to do. I gotta answer to the clown.
yeah.
Like,
Well, so that's what I think. Like the difference in your world and Royce's world is Royce is in a job. He has a boss. He has somebody he has to answer to, right?
right?
So if he was like you in his job,
Yeah, he
he would
wouldn't
be
have
fired
a
last week.
job.
right?
He wouldn't have a
So
job.
in order to be productive in that job, he's got to do what I had to do
Yeah.
for many years,
Like
right?
you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I get that too.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I get your point about that specific situation. Like, you know, okay, there's also a line because I think there's a line where people, you can play the game to get where you are, but you also need to be respected, right? You don't need to strip everything of yourself to please others, you know, because then I feel like you're dehumanizing yourself,
What you see, like,
right?
Yep.
And so
Yep.
that's, and that, you know, so,
So in
anyway.
order for me to continue to have self-worth, I gotta conduct myself in a way that is worthy of that. And what I cannot do is destroy my own progress
Right,
by giving in to the beast inside of me
right,
and act out that way.
right.
You know, I gotta, you know, what they call that? Cage the rage.
Cage the rage.
You know.
That should be a shirt.
Oh, there was a thing like that. The
Oh, was
program
it?
that we
Was
took
there?
in Minnesota. Cage Your Rage.
Okay,
That's
so
a lifeline program.
So that's one thing that I love about you in relationships and what I see. And I do see that you take things that you didn't like in your past relationships and you try to make it better in this one. And the fact that you really pay attention to the little things that make me happy, and you make it a
Huh?
point to do that. Like making me coffee every morning, you know. Those little things just
And
make
this
me
was
feel, but they just make me feel, you know, happy. You know what I mean? Like if he said tomorrow, you know what, babe, I don't want to make coffee anymore, I'd be like, that's fine, you know. But
I don't want to make coffee.
okay,
That's not true.
I'll make you coffee every morning.
That's not true.
But it's those little things, like he picks up on the little
like
things
making coffee.
and he'll do
I
that.
enjoy making coffee.
So those are the things I love
Oh yeah,
about
talking
you.
about that, we gotta buy coffee. Hurrah.
Well, we passed Costco, so we're not doing it now. Okay, so what are the things that you love about me that I do in our relationship?
I love about you, you,
That's
the
not.
most beautiful
That's-
woman in the world.
That's not something that.
It's a thing.
It's not a thing,
It's a thing.
but it's not something that
Yeah.
you know.
No, I love how you love me. Like your whole display with me. Like even like this right here, like
We always
Hold-
ride in the
hold
car like
hands.
this.
when we driving,
Always.
you know.
And if my hands are busy, he'd be like, "Come on, where's your hands?"
Yeah. And when I walk in, we together.
Yeah, we
You know what I
know
mean?
that.
Because it shows the unity. It means something. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, I love you. You know.
Mhm.
So I love the way you touch me and make me feel loved. You know what I mean? Just I remember when I first met you and we got the apartment where it was, and I came up for that one day
Yeah.
when they paroled me for that one day, October 20th, 2019,
And then they hijacked you.
and
again
then jacked me the
day.
next day. But that night, man, you you just sat there and we had the futon on the ground. We
Yeah.
had nothing, no.
Yeah. All we had is the futon, the
Yeah.
pillows, and the
The
blanket.
apartment was empty,
I think it was just a sheet too. It wasn't even a real blanket. Like
Yeah.
it was just a sheet.
just a sheet. And you allowed me to lay in your lap,
I held
and you
you.
just struck. Yeah, you just
I held you all night, and you know that my back
caressing my
was
face. And
my
all
back was killing me that
yeah?
night. I was like, the way you fell asleep on me, I was kind of like tilted a little bit
Mhm.
in my back, but my back was so sore. But you just looked so content, and you looked like you felt safe. And I was like, if I wake up with a broken back, I wake up with a broken back because
What?
it
You made the
just,
sacrifice.
I did, and I wanted to just hold you all night, because after everything you'd been through, like that's what I wanted to do,
And then it
so-
fucking shocked my conscience the next morning. Jack man sent me back
Yeah.
in.
And I was
And
like,
everybody was tripping when I was going back. Wow, you just got out.
yeah.
Right back again. 11 hours I was gone.
And then I cried and I called the attorney again, and I was like, they just took him back again, and he was pissed. He was like,
What
what?
did you like?
For what? And I was so upside down.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it's like, well, that's a new case now. So I had to pay again, pay money. And it was all like, okay, it's all
So you
worth
have to
it.
see firsthand how attorney, even though the guy is cool.
Yeah, he was cool. But I mean,
Yeah.
that's his job,
Right.
And he was willing to work with me. And that's the thing that I loved about him is that
Yeah.
he saw that I was trying. He knew where my heart was, and he worked with me. Whereas most attorneys would be like, I
Too
need
bad,
the
Suzanne.
10 grand,
Gotta go.
on Tuesday, and if I don't get it on Tuesday, oh well. And so that's what I loved about him. But so is there anything else?
Yeah, that and I love that you solid with me. You go above and beyond to prove to me that you solid with me. I've had people tell me they solid with me, and then the first time something go wrong, wow, they bail.
Pew! Abort!
abort. Like, bro, what happened, bro? You know what I mean? And there's been times over the last almost 6 years now that we've been together that I question whether or not you would remain solid. You just did. I think that's what helps me to grow, to know that I can have faith and trust in the fact that you're not going to just abandon me. You know what I mean? When I need you the most. And a lot of that fears that I had that I needed your trust for turned out to be unfounded. It's primarily because I thought that the parole people was going to screw me over.
Yeah,
They're looking for an excuse to just send me back.
yeah.
And you helped me through that, but you also helped them convince me that they wasn't out to get me.
Yeah, well, and
know.
and it's not that you haven't had past parole officers that have
Yeah.
done that, right? So it's justified.
When you've been burned a couple of times, you're
Yeah.
like, I don't trust
Right.
what you say.
But then so
you
that
gotta trust
that's
us.
our guy.
Yeah.
But on that note too, the trauma is one of our truckers. But on that note too, that's the thing that I think. I always think about prisoners and ex-cons that come out and try to live this way. And what is it that without support? What is it that? Here we go again. Let's see if I can do it. I did.
Yeah.
But what is it that prevents them from fully being what's the word I'm thinking of?
Accepted.
Tired. Accepted and not progress, but successful in this world out here. And I think that a lot of it is trust, right? Because when you spend a lot of time in prison and like you grew up on the streets and stuff, you don't trust anybody because everybody's got a hustle, everybody's got an ulterior motive,
Right.
everybody's trying to get at you, right?
Right.
So you always had to sleep with one
Get
eye
over it.
open, you know, and yeah, you always got to be on high alert.
Hey, we no more medication.
So no medication,
Medication.
no.
Quad 1, quad 2, meds.
No, but so that's the thing that people don't realize is that that carries on when they come out into this life. They're, it's not that they don't want to
He's
trust
driving on
everybody.
two lanes.
It's not that they don't want to trust anybody. It's that they don't know how. They really
Oh,
don't
you know
know
why?
how.
Because you got to make a big turn.
Oh yeah, they really don't know how. You know what I mean? Like, because and that's the thing. Like, if you could relax and trust,
Yeah.
then
You need
Then-
a safe space to do that.
right,
And that's what you give to me. What you provide me with is a safe space to trust the system.
see. So when it's us though, right? Like, cause it's harder when other people get involved.
Yeah.
Cause then there's like whoa, now there's 10 people. Like now I gotta have 10 eyes, right?
Yeah.
Because everybody's gotta be you gotta be on high alert. So that's the transition, I think, that's the thing that prevents a lot of ex-cons from doing what they need to do. And and that's a big thing. So how do you help somebody with that? And I can only do so much to, I think, earn your trust, right? And the parole people can only do so much. And this time around, I don't know why it's this time around, but everybody has been straight up. You know what I mean? So they've
Yeah.
been cool with you. Like, Demont, just don't play games with us. We won't play games with you, right?
Right.
And
I think primarily is me choosing to not engage with them in a way that is manipulative or
Right.
seen as playing games.
and that's,
And just to be adult about my parole. Be adult about it.
yeah.
Just say, don't do this, don't do this. You know?
So that's hard because you have to trust them, right?
Yeah.
This time around, you have to trust them.
Even though
right?
I did what they said, it's still
But
banging.
there was at the beginning, there was a few times where even slight things like when they told you that you had to go to a different spot to check in
Yeah.
because one spot was not
Yeah.
doing this, and
I was
so
like,
that
come
right
on,
there,
bro.
he was
I
like,
already see the plane,
Yeah,
bro.
he
You're
was
gonna
like,
jack me up.
"This is a
That's when
setup."
during COVID, they had us report to OCCC to do the piss test.
Yeah,
And I was like, bro, I had an ex-husband over there drive us, come drive with us and
you
all
had
that. 'cause
contacts in your
I have
pocket,
contacts,
$500
everything,
cash,
cash money in my pocket. This guy's gonna jack me, bro.
and then
Yeah.
I couldn't drive, so he had my ex-husband come with us in
Yeah.
case when they did take him that he
Yeah,
could
I
drive
mean,
back.
come on, bro. I seen this movie
He had
before.
everything
Yeah.
set, and I'm like, and I was thinking, okay, that's a little bit dramatic. You're not gonna, they have nothing to take you in
I
for.
know.
And he's like, yeah, but still, they don't need
Yeah, they don't.
anything, right?
Yeah.
Just park his car
Oh, wait.
so we can finish up our stuff. But so that's the kind of stuff that he has to go through, and that's the kind of stuff that the system, after being locked up for so long, that's the damage that it does to a person. It doesn't matter how much you're rehabilitated for the crimes you've committed.
Right.
You are stuck with PTSD. And that lady on LinkedIn, she talks about post-incarceration syndrome,
Right.
right? And that's a thing. That's what I've always said before I even learned that term. That's what I was telling you, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and it's a very, very
Isn't it refreshing to be validated?
it was like, see, it's a thing. So that's the thing. And keeping people on parole
Forever.
because they mess up once or twice, to me, is not, I mean, everybody messes up once or twice, you know what I mean, at
Yeah.
least. But I don't think that's the answer too, because that's just that's just keeping that trauma there and not
Yeah.
letting the men and women fully heal, right? So I think that's a thing too. But relationships are not easy.
Not easy.
They take a lot of work.
Work. Yeah.
And so all these people that are out there that are like, oh, me and my husband, we never fight, you know, we never,
Eli.
you know, so that either means that your husband just doesn't say anything and just lets you do whatever you want, or the wife doesn't say anything and lets the husband do whatever they want, you know, or you guys do your own things, like they do other things.
Other things.
Right? So then it doesn't matter. Like, yeah, that's my husband. We never fight because we're never together. You know? Because I know couples like that too. Oh, me and my husband, we never fight. I'm like, oh, so what do you guys do for fun? Oh, I don't know what he do, but I go shopping with the girls, and I'm like,
I go shop and spend his money.
yeah. So like, what? Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, so what do you guys do together? And they go, oh, we hardly together. I mean, sometimes we sleep in the same bed. I'm like,
Jay's here already.
oh, okay.
What's going on? He's
Well,
looking around on the
We're home.
truck over there.
He's doing something with his tip. But we're home. We will see you later.
Everything okay?